Welcome to October Scaries, where I'm watching and reviewing 13 horror thrillers, and we are kicking it off with Bring Her Back. Bring Her Back is an Australian horror film. It's directed by Danny and Michael Philippou, and it's written by Danny Philippou and Bill Heinzman. The story is about siblings Andy and Piper, who lose their father and are then placed in the foster care system. They are placed with Laura. Laura is already fostering one child, and Laura has a lot going on. And these kids are essentially left to fend for themselves and try to survive Miss Laura. It stars Billy Barrett, Sora Wong, Jonah Wren Phillips, and Sally Hawkins. I have no notes for this film. I have 0 notes. It's a 5 out of 5 film. It has themes of child abuse, grief, the foster care system. And I feel like anytime you say the foster care system, you know it's all bad. I don't know what is the state of the foster care system in Australia, and I did not look into it before I started recording. But I saw a lot in this movie that reminds me or makes me think of failures within the foster care system in America. So I'm just gonna go off of that understanding, and I think I probably have it close to what the downside, the bad side, the failures of the foster care system, what that is in Australia. I think Bring Her Back has a really good, there's a mystery element to the movie, of course, like what the heck is going on, what is up with Laura, and that held my attention throughout. I love the pacing. It has some very creepy and nasty and disgusting body horror, and it has what I think is a very brave ending. While watching the movie, I was frustrated because I was rooting for what I was rooting for, and I was ultimately very sad and ultimately very satisfied with the story that was told. So let's get into it. Okay, I need to talk about Andy. Andy was failed. Okay, Andy couldn't beat the system. And I think that's what makes this movie so refreshing and so special. Andy, at the end of the day, is a 17-year-old boy. He is a boy. He needed the adults. Where were the adults? He couldn't beat his father, right? Nature took care of that. Although there was a part of me wondering, like, was there foul play? Because something about the way he kicked it made me wonder if he was tied into, like, those people, the cult, the underground. But turns out he wasn't. Nature had to take its course where the father was concerned. And then I really enjoyed the portrayal of the foster situation. First with wanting to split them up, and then with all of the innuendos about Andy, essentially portraying him and speaking about him as if he's a threat, as if he's a ticking time bomb. The fact that he is a boy was being used against him, and Laura definitely weaponized that. And of course, he couldn't survive Laura. Like, he needed another adult. That extra element of, like, yes, there's like weird occult crap happening, but also as an orphan, the adults are horrifying. Like, they are the scary thing for Andy, and he experienced the adults in a way that Piper did not, starting with the father. Laura had credibility that Andy did not. Firstly, because of her former profession as a counselor. You know, the Wendy knew her, and so she had that credibility. And again, because of the story that she was weaving and what she was insinuating about Andy, there was nothing he could do. To rise above that. She was psychologically abusing him. I mean, that is it, psychologically and emotionally abusing him, and even physically, because it's been a few weeks since I watched it, but I think there was something that she did to him that made him wind up in the hospital, but I don't remember anymore. Andy needed protection. That is the most tragic thing about this movie. He needed to be protected. He was worthy of being protected, and he ultimately wasn't. Wendy, I mean, honestly, even Wendy didn't try to protect him, because when it was time to haul ass, she tried to get in front of him, like, me first, I'll get to Wendy. She is the MVP unexpectedly. Like, she was like, her reactions were real as real could be. So I do like the ending that Andy got. That it was not like my sister and my friend, they don't like it because I watched this with them, but I liked it. I, of course, was rooting for him. I was rooting for Laura's downfall, but the fact that he lost his life because of this system and because of the adults he couldn't rise above, he couldn't overpower them, he is a child. I really appreciated that. I think it worked. I think it capped off the story beautifully. I was rooting for Andy. And then I remembered, oh crap, this is not like an American movie. It stuck with me after I watched The Descent, was it last year or 2 years ago? About how like the ending that the British got is very different from what the Americans got, because like American audiences love a touchy-feely like underdog wins ending. Once I remembered that this is not an American movie, I was like, oh crap. After he got hit, I'm like, ooh, my boy. When she was holding his head down and he stopped breathing, part of me was like, maybe he held his breath and he's gonna pop up and he's gonna be okay. The other part of me was like, I think these Australians are going to kill him, and kill him they did. I wanted Laura to get her comeuppance. I wanted nothing but the worst for her, but she went out on her own terms. And I really appreciate the commitment to her grief. Grief makes you do some crazy shit, like attempted murder, like holding your daughter's frozen corpse, storing it in the deep freezer. Yeah, grief makes you do some weird things. This part of the story gave me like 90s, like occult, like underground tape being passed around. She probably picked up that tape in like a used bookstore or something and found it and decided that she could not let go. She could not work through the guilt that she felt for not being able to save her daughter. And in the end, it is the love for her daughter. Like, it's her motherly instincts that ends up saving Piper. And Piper was one smart girl. She remembered how much that lady wanted her to be her daughter, and she was like, Mom, or was it Mommy or Mama? She like, that was so smart on her part and so beautiful. And again, Laura is a monster and a mother, and she could not bring herself to off a little girl who she had already grafted onto. She couldn't bring herself to, after hearing those words, to still take that life, because that went against her entire reasoning and motivation for doing this. I think Laura is a fantastic villain. She is a villain, not an antagonist. She is a straight up villain. She is a child abuser. I went on to say that she didn't quite kill anybody, completely forgetting that she kills Andy and Wendy. She came as close as she could with Oliver. I mean, she put a demon in the child's body. I feel like that's tantamount to murder. I didn't hate Laura at the end, nor did I feel bad for her. I was just like, damn, like she just was stuck in that, not even a cycle, but she wasn't human anymore. Without her daughter, she became a monster, and the only end for her was death, and she took herself out, which I think is appropriate considering, again, she is a monster. She represents the system, and the system, like, I don't know, took care of itself. I couldn't bring that together. But Wendy, though, she didn't ask any questions. Once that lady grabbed her hand and she saw the blood, when Andy showed her that frozen carcass, she didn't go in like, oh, I don't remember the girl's name, but like, she didn't go in to be like, oh my God, because she knows the little girl, right? She knows her. She saw her around, back when she was alive, but she wasn't like, oh my God. She said, we gotta go. And she said, me first, and got in front of that, but she shouldn't have done that. Self-preservation instincts on 100, because Wendy has to go to work tomorrow. Like, she has PTO already planned and approved. She has a husband. She might even have some great... Wendy had something to live for, and unfortunately, Laura had other plans. I think bring her back is incredible. It's a very impressive story with great pacing. Great, strong start to this year's October Scaries. 5 out of 5. If you've seen Bring Her Back, let me know what you think.